Food Service Power Plant Network. Hello, friends, colleagues in the food service industry. It's Monday night, our favorite night of the week where we get to once again connect. We come out of a weekend where hopefully we've rested a little bit, we've dreamt a little bit, we've rejuvenated. We're going, by this point on Monday, we're in fifth gear, generally speaking, and we're cruising, we're cranking, and we get to sit back for a moment and sit with a new friend, and learn stories. Tonight, we get to connect with one of our industry's great leaders, Mike Whiteley of Hatco. He's been with Hatco a long time. He's going to share with us some of his story tonight, and he's getting ready to retire at the end of the year, which is out there. So it's such a fun time as folks who, we've had a few people in our show who are getting ready to retire, who I'm sure are thinking about, what they've accomplished, and good things and hard things and challenge and joy and all this wonderful stuff. And Mike is going to join us tonight and share some of his story. Remember, our stories are just a little bit different than the average story told in our industry. We talk a little bit more personal. It's a little bit less about organizations, a little bit more about who's Mike, what's he overcome, what's he's learned, what's wisdom he's garnered along the way, who are people who have lifted him up and encouraged him along the way. And it's your night too to ask Mike questions. So a couple reminders. Number one, I would grab a notepad and pen. Inevitably, you're going to want to take some notes because Mike's just lived a story, and there'll be things in his experience that you might need. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, you'll look down at that notepad of notes and you'll say, gosh, Mike, what Mike said here, or what he went through, I can relate to. Maybe I can try this, something Mike tried. So I would do that. The other thing I would say is you are welcome to root Mike on or ask questions. Quentin Webb's in the house. Quentin, Primetime with Jay Wange and Mike Whiteley tonight. Yo, Quentin, what's up, brother? You're welcome to ask questions, and we'll do our best to get to them. This hour goes by really quickly, but we'll have a blast. David Maxwell's in the house, ready to listen and learn. I love it, David. A couple other things. Number one, I know we're your pregame tonight because I know the NCAA championship is on, and the good news is it starts 20 minutes after we end. So we're just going to warm you up and get you going. We'll get you ready. By the time you're done, you're going to want to jump on your couch because you're going to be so exhausted from learning that you're going to want to just veg out and watch basketball, and it's going to be awesome. Mike and I know very little about basketball, just to prep you. So any like recommendations we would make on winners would be it's not a good idea. You don't want our advice. So just throwing that out there. Also, a quick thanks. Zumba Group, FNS Magazine. Look, they are the people who share knowledge with the industry, who inform us, who educate us. We're so stoked at NRA to have the FNS Dealer of the Year award finally after like 3 years, an all industry gala. If you haven't picked it up, go check out FES Mag. Boom, I just got my copy. And sign up to get that copy, come to your house, your office, whatever you need. And Zumba Group and Craven Company, who are our marketing arm and helping us spread the message of positivity and mindset tools, etc. Thanks to Chelsea and the team. If you need social media support, website development, all the stuff in terms of getting your brand out there, go check out Craven Company. Look at this. Deirdre Flynn's in the house. I stinking love it. Greetings, Jason and Michael. Yo, Kevin Coachman, looking forward tonight. Let's go find the man, the myth, Mike.
Hey, Jason.
Hey, brother. How are you?
Good. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. I love your energy, Jason. And as I told you just before we came on, in interest of full disclosure, I'm on day one of a COVID infection. I got a sore throat, a runny nose, a bit of a headache. So I'm going to do my best to pump it up, but show some mercy on me.
Mike, we will go easy, buddy. And again, if at any point you need to pull the ripcord, we've actually had other people jump in halfway through. I think you're going to do great. We're going to have a blast, but just know that that's available to you. I'm going to actually go in. And Mike, by the way, sending lots of love to you and Rhea. That's, we did COVID in December. It's not the funnest of times, not like the funnest thing I experienced in the last 12 months. So we got you, whatever that looks like.
Awesome.
You got you. Okay, who's here? I'm checking in. Okay, this is your buddy, Mike Colligan. Mike, Jason and Mike still looking forward tonight, especially after spending time at Hatco last week. How fun is that? Charlie Surata. Hello, Mike. I love this. This is great. Lots of hope you get through this COVID quickly, Mike. That's our buddy Tom Stritch and Tim Christensen and Cliff Whitman. I love it. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Mike, so you are you're currently the Senior Vice President at Hatco for Sales and Marketing. Yep. You've been there quite a while doing some cool role, 20 years. Can you tell us a little bit just about your journey to Hatco and to the role you hold now?
Sure. So I started my career working for Altosham in high school. I went to high school with Steve Moss,
Oh,
and I was the only kid that his mom liked that he was friends with. So I was able to get a job there, and I worked through high school and college, and then I worked in Latin American sales when I graduated because I spoke Spanish and they needed someone in Mexico. So they hired me and sent me to South America for a few years. And it was probably the best job I ever had in the industry, the most fun, because everybody was afraid to go to Latin America back then. And I was having the time of my life. Um, and then in 1992, Prince Castle recruited me away. I moved to Chicago and led their international sales for a few years until I got voted to vice president. And we were a tier one McDonald's supplier. So I got to see most of Europe and Asia running around, opening up markets for McDonald's. And that was really fun. And then in 2002, David Hatch invited me to come to Milwaukee and have some margaritas with him. It was probably the most dangerous drive home of my life. And he convinced me to come back to my roots in the state of Wisconsin, and he was planning on selling the company to the employees, which was a really attractive thing. And I've been there ever since. So 20 years this year.
wow. Mike, what a cool story traveling all those places. What do you learn? I mean, I'm trying to think here globally, when you have a mind globally and you're traveling the world, serving your manufacturer and serving customers, what's one of the greatest gifts for you having traveled the world and done business all over the place?
Well, I think first of all, to use a word that's really popular right now would be inclusion, because most of the time you're the minority in these places that you're visiting. And so, you learn to respect their culture and their beliefs and their points of view. I would say second, you learn to listen, because you have a lot to learn before you really understand a place. So you ask questions and listen a lot before you start even thinking about maybe offering some advice on how we might improve things or do things better. I learned that generally everywhere in the world, people are nice. I hate what's going on in the Ukraine, but having been to Russia half a dozen times, the people were very, very nice to me. So I think sometimes you have to separate the general populace from the politicians.
Yeah.
But everywhere I've been in the world, people received me in a warm and friendly way. So I think those are really good perspectives that I've picked up over the years.
Well, I mean, if ever, I think all those things are needed to learn to be inclusive, to listen. Certainly, that's something that comes up all the time. One of those things it seems simple enough, but it's not. I think it takes skill and practice to learn how to listen well in a way that the person talking feels heard. There's thinking you listen, and then there's someone feeling heard. What great things to walk away with.
I'll add one more because
Yeah.
people always say, "What's your favorite place in the world?" And I always say Genesee Depot, Wisconsin. I think the more you travel, the more you appreciate home.
Yeah, that's fair. Have you been, well, obviously in COVID, you're not traveling a lot, but leading up to, were you on the road a bunch?
2019, I went to China 7 times.
Wow.
So yeah, I was pretty much a 50%er.
Okay.
So half the time. I think if you travel much more than that, it gets hard to be good at what you do.
I would agree with you. Someone's agreeing to your Dan Farmer about being home. Gosh. So Mike, when you aren't, when you're not traveling, when you're not Hatco, and obviously you've had Hatco hat on for 20 years, what are you doing to recharge your batteries? What brings you life outside of work to fill you up?
So I'm very involved with my church. I've been the moderator of our church for 15 years. The moderator is kind of leads the executive board, and is the point of a lot of activity. And we do a lot of volunteer work, a lot of mission work through our church, fundraising in the community, volunteer work in the community. That's really been, gives me a lot of joy and purpose. And more recently, I've been studying theology. I'm not sure what I want to do with it, but I was studying Chinese. I took 4 years of Mandarin, and I was really getting into that. And then all of a sudden, I realized I wasn't going to be going to wasn't going to be going to China for a while. And somebody at my church recommended I sign up for this thing they call Lay Academy, and it's been awesome. A very diverse group of people digging into really deep, important topics in life. And, as you prepare for retirement, you think about what's next. Yeah. I heard somebody say that a lot of people do their best work after age 50. And so thinking about how I could apply this new chapter and the things I'm learning is creating a lot of excitement about the future for me personally.
Gosh, that's really fun. I think it's really wise. Love the message of people are generally friendly. I would agree too. I love that you talk about having purpose, having passion, and I've never heard that about people doing their best work after 50. But I mean, as you think about it, I mean, health is still generally good. Oftentimes it's, and you've got so much wisdom and experience if you've listened along the way. And I think turned your stories into, life lessons and learning, that there's just so stinking much to contribute in so many ways to both serve and lead through that service.
Absolutely. The best example I heard of that was Jimmy Carter. He didn't have the most stellar presidency. It wasn't all his fault. Some of it was victim of circumstance and his point in time in history. But he didn't exactly fix a lot of things either. But after he left the presidency, the work he did with Habitat for Humanity and the efforts that he forwarded for brokering peace in the Middle East, he's a great example of someone whose second career, if you will, shined brightly compared to his first.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I hadn't thought of it that way, but talk about an ambassador, someone who continues to live through caring for others. I think that I'm really excited for you.
We could use some more ex-presidents that behave that way.
We could. We could. I would agree with you. I'm not going to touch that one too much longer, but let me ask you this. How many languages do you speak, Mike?
Well, 1.5. I'm pretty good in Spanish. I learned French on the street when I was working in Europe, and I can fake my way around pretty good. And if you speak some French and some Spanish, you can fake your way through Italian and Portuguese pretty well. Wow. And Mandarin, I studied for 4 years. I could hail a cab, give them directions, order food for dinner, and check into a hotel, but I'm not exactly sure I could read a long novel and make sense of it.
Okay, that's fair. Did you ever, when you were studying Mandarin or any language, like I was wondering this, when you start studying so much and focusing on it, did you ever dream in that language?
Oh, yeah. When I was working in Latin America, I would dream in Spanish all the time. I've had dreams in French and in Mandarin, sometimes more than one at a time, and I get them confused, depending who I was out to dinner with. But it makes you really a hot mess, very ADD at times.
Okay, got it. Okay, fair. Maybe that's a part of what allows you to learn so much. Who knows? Quentin Webb, agree. After 50, most of the mistakes have been made. Which next to listening to others are the best learning experiences. Well played, Quentin.
Yeah, totally.
I'm in. Okay, in the last 5 years, is there a belief you've taken on, a new habit or something that has affected your life most positively?
Well, there's a lot of things I'm picking up in theology, but I don't want to burden this audience with them because I'd have to bust into a 20-minute sermon. So I'll go with habits. Just before the pandemic, I found out I needed to have my knee replaced. And the doctor said, hey, you need to lose some weight. Otherwise, you're just going to blow up the new knee. So I got wow. about my health. And in the next 18 months, I lost 120 pounds. So I really got focused on the discipline of diet and exercise on a daily basis. Morning meditation helped me get ready for that. Calling my wife before I went to bed every night made sure that someone would cook healthy meals for me when I got home. So just new discipline.
Wow, Mike, that's incredible. Was there in terms of, I'm sure a lot of people are asking a lot of questions right now, having just learned that from you, in terms of like, oh, is there a particular, eating plan that Mike uses or something like that? Is there?
No, there's no fad diet. It's not. No, it's none of. It's not Atkins or I forget what the hot new one is. The
Keto,
Camino,
keto.
keto. Yeah, none of that. It was very simple. I call it the 2+4. It was
Okay.
2,000 calories or less and 4,000 steps or more. And I know a lot of people these days are like, well, if I don't get 10,000 steps, then I'm not doing anything. But when you weigh 360 pounds, 4,000 steps is a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
It was brutal. And these days I swim 3 times a week. It's better for my knees, but my new knee.
Way to go, Mike. This is awesome. Who is this? This is Deirdre. So proud of you. So proud for you and of you for this incredible accomplishment. Glad you're taking care of you. I love it. That's awesome. Jason Hartman.
Thanks,
Mike,
Steve.
any tips on building good habits and sticking with them?
Well, conviction, there was nothing more frightening to me than when I went to consult with a doctor and they said, well, if you don't lose the weight, we can just staple your stomach. And I wanted to avoid surgery in the worst way.
Yeah.
And then COVID came along and I kept reading in the newspaper that all the fat guys were the ones dieting or were all the ones dying. And then I tell people, well, fat scared the fat out of me. So just find something that either frightens you to get it done or motivates you to get it done. Think about how awesome it's going to be when you aren't afraid to put on a swimsuit, or how great it's going to be when you can go hiking with your kids again.
Yeah.
I just focused on the motivating forces and not all the excuses.
Mike, I love it. It's so interesting you say that. Today's quote we put up on LinkedIn, I think it was LinkedIn, was, I think by Jim Rohn, there's 2 things that create change. One is inspiration of something we're looking forward to, a pleasure we want to accomplish, or running from pain. It's either running to something that really gets you going or running from something that you really don't want to be a part of. And I think you address that really brilliantly. Someone says kids are a strong motivator.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding, huh?
Yeah, I thought I don't want to retire and be so out of shape that I can't do anything with my kids or my grandkids. That was a distressing vision that I didn't want to live.
I think that's a great one for so many. Let me ask you this. We all are the byproduct of people we surround ourselves with. Who along in your journey, were there people along in your journey who were some of your great encouragers that said, Mike, you've got this, you can do these cool things, you can learn Mandarin, you can learn theology, you can affect an industry as positively as you can?
Yes. And, I wish I could point to it was, Gandhi or Mother Teresa or, some famous person, but it was pretty simple. It was my father. He was a World War II vet and had spent 900 consecutive days sleeping on a beach in the South Pacific, wondering if he was ever going to make it home. And his leadership in our community and in our church and in our family just set such a weighty, at sometimes overpowering role model. Like, I'm never going to be able to live up to that. But he also was very loving and encouraging. And he raised 7 kids, and, all of us went on to raise families and live good lives. And I just think that to me was an incredible accomplishment for someone coming out of a terrible experience so far away from home for such a long time.
Wow. It's, you never know what experiences like that pain does to people. I feel like it can drive you one of two ways.
Yeah.
and to walk out of that and come home and care and love and lead. I mean, what an example for you and your siblings to watch and see and say, oh, whatever that guy's got, whatever he's doing, I want some of that, and I'd like to be like that.
Yeah, and you never wanted to play cribbage with them, because to pass the time for all those years on the beach, they played cribbage.
Okay.
And they played so much cribbage that eventually the ink came off the cards. The cards were pure white. There was no ink left on them. So I was never able to beat him in a hand of cribbage unless I got really, really lucky.
Oh gosh, holy cow. Yeah, he was an expert. I guess you become an expert after 900 days of cribbage. This is our buddy Charlie Surata from NAFM. I've always been impressed by your relationship with Capri and Wills. How do you keep that relationship growing as they move away and start to build their own lives? Do you and Rhea have guidance to offer? Great question, Charlie.
So, each parent brings different skill sets. So, Wills and I are best friends. We go hunting and fishing together all the time. We're always looking for another reason to get together and do something outdoors. So we have that bond and that reason for getting together. And we're always planning the next trip. We're always calling each other to say, did you try this lure? Or, did that blind or that decoy work? And with Rhea and Capri, it's just, I don't know how many hours a week they talk, but they talk on the phone together every single day. So they just stay connected. Don't let a lot of time go by where you don't reach out and connect. Just be there.
Were you both that fishing and hunting with Wills, that you guys do, or for Capri and Rhea? Did that happen did that foundation begin when they were in the home?
Well, we live on a farm, and it's a hunting farm, and we have like ponds and rivers and all stuff all over. So it was what you did in this community. And it isn't to say that Rhea doesn't have a great relationship with her son, or I don't have a great relationship with Capri, but because one of us always has a reason to call and talk to him, it gives the other one the opportunity to pass the phone across and say, oh, and by the way, say hi to your dad.
Sure. I think it's outstanding. I love that. Great question, Charlie. Thank you for asking it. A question. Okay, a couple questions from our Food Service Power Plant Facebook community. Quentin Webb said, I heard the Hatco party at NAFM is off the hook. Is it on and happening at NAFM 2023?
It's on.
It's on.
Yep.
Now, you'll be retired by then, I believe, right?
Rumor is I might get invited.
Yes. That was my question. Okay, awesome.
It'll be the first time I'll be able to relax and drink and not have to worry about anything.
Okay, good. I hope you can too. I love it. Kevin Coachman with KCL asked a question. The Hatco environment seems to be one that just really welcomes people and great culture, et cetera. What is it about that environment that keeps people so long? There's so little turnover. What's happening to keep people so long?
There's so many good answers to that. The fun one is, nepotism. We're all either, married to each other, or have our kids working there, or, we're dating each other. That's not the case for me, just so you know. But it is very funny when you get up to the factory, because it's a small community, how everybody seems to be related one way or the other. But that's a silly answer. The true answer is really culture and making work fun. So David Hatch, our former owner and former president and CEO, who sold the company to the employees, was passionate about, work hard, play hard, work should always be fun. I want you to be excited about putting the keys in the ignition and coming to work. These are all quotes that he would frequently say. Never take yourself too seriously, but always take the business seriously. And so he would, have us play putt-putt golf in the hallways on Fridays. Until we had an HR director, he might hand out beers on the Friday afternoon, or whip out his gas-powered blender and make daiquiris. It was just wild. But even now that he's gone and things have settled down, we've not let go of that desire to keep the fun. And sometimes you have to work at it. You got to come up with a reason to have the just because picnic or the funny hat picnic or the ugly sweater picnic, or just come up with any reason to share food and get people together, play games. We just finished the longest Bego tournament of all time, I think.
What's Bego?
Some people call it cornhole.
Oh gosh, yeah, got it.
So we had everyone in teams, and then the brackets, and it started before the tournament. I feel like the tournament ends each year, the week after next year's tournament begins. It just goes on forever. But just play games and have reasons to gather together and enjoy some fun time. Give them some time away from their desks to enjoy the culture. And David would keep it light, and some of us try to do a little of this with practical jokes. We had our export manager once was pregnant, and during a very serious meeting with our executive vice president, she put one of those old hot water bottles between her legs, and she squeezed it halfway through the meeting to make it look like she had just broke her water, like she was going into labor. And he ran up and down the hall saying, "Call 911," had a heart attack and everything. And everybody knew what she was up to. We were all out in the hallway laughing and rolling. And, it was just silly stuff like that. Try to keep it light.
I love that is welcomed and appreciated. And that does keep people, who doesn't want to be a part of something fun? Yeah. And something big.
Well, and you can't deny the motivation of employee ownership.
Yeah.
So, they get their statements every year. The average employee of an employee-owned company retires with 7 times more retirement savings on average than the average 401k recipient at a public company. So, they, golden handcuffs. They can't afford to leave after a while.
Well, that's a great reason to stay and keep people and to keep people wanting to invest their energy and to give their all to grow this thing, because that directly affects them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everyone's engaged. I've seen you at a couple of events. You and I just met, I don't know, less than a year ago, either at a CIFA event or FIDA or wherever it was, and your wife Rhea was there. And, you've had an incredible career traveling the world. I'm sure lots of miles and lots of meals and kind of everywhere. And it also, Rhea is such an important part to you, coming to different functions and events. For those watching who are married and growing in their professional careers and want to continue to grow, maybe they want an international role. Any advice you'd give someone that says, hey, here's a tip or an idea on how to continue to grow and build your career and maintain this relationship with your spouse at home?
Just make sure you're irresistible.
Mike, you do it well, man.
Honestly, it's a little bit luck and it's a little bit work, but we decided early on that we don't care about money as much as we do about our shared values and our shared experiences. And so when our kids were born, Rhea decided to leave her career and focus on being a full-time mom. And that afforded us raising the kids the way we wanted them to, with the values we wanted them to have. And so far, they've turned out great. God willing, I hope that continues. Thank you, Lord. But now that we're empty nesters, it's always also given her the chance to travel with me when it's appropriate. Like, she asked me a couple of weeks ago, can I go to NRA? And I said no. And she's like, why? And I'm like, it's not a spouses event. We never bring spouses to NRA. And she's like, well, I'll just go anyways. And I'm like, we can't stay in my room. She's like, well, nobody will see me. And I'm like, you're not gonna be able to get through the lobby. It's everybody in food service, So I don't bring her along to every event, but if it's a conference, or a lot of times what she would do would be, I'd be on a business trip overseas, and then I'd take an extra week for vacation and she'd fly over and meet me, that kind of stuff. And then people are like, oh, your wife's coming into town, we should do dinner. And over time you develop relationships and friendships with people that you do business with, but they they become far deeper than that because you get to know their spouses and their children, and you stay at their homes. And for me, the times I've gotten close enough to a customer or a business partner where we've shared our homes with each other are especially when you get into the international markets, by far the richest experiences of my life. When someone in China says, "Would you come stay at my home?" That's a big deal. That's a really big deal. I mean, you've broken through then. They really like you for who you are, not for, how much stuff you're going to buy or what discount you're going to give them. You've moved past that.
Right. Oh, Mike, how cool is that? I love the emphasis on what you both decided was important, what mattered to you, and it's different for everybody. And you found a way to honor what mattered to you, whether it was here or in China or whatever that is. And here's the places that it works for us to, go hang out, and here's the places that it doesn't. And it's always fun to see you both together. I think it's a really, really great, just from the periphery, it's a really fun example to see. So I'm glad you guys keep doing work and fun the way you do together.
And the truth is, she's the irresistible one. That's why I never let her out of my sight.
Well played. Hang tight.
Yeah.
Hang on tight. Gosh, I love it. Okay, answer this question. I am happiest when I'm fishing.
And I'm going to say fishing literally and metaphorically.
Okay.
I love fishing. I do a ton of fishing, saltwater fishing, freshwater fishing, north, south, east, and west with friends, with family. In my church, we often recite the words of Jesus when he meets the apostles James and John, and he says, "Leave your nets and I'll teach you to be fishers of men." And so missionary work is very important to me. I currently have friends living in Bogota, Colombia, who are full-time missionaries who we sponsor. So I believe enough to really go in deep on that. And then fishing for business and customers and new products. There's nothing better. It's like reeling in a big fish when you score that new book of business or that new customer, that new chain, or you introduce a product and it takes off. To me, that's, you're fishing and you've caught a big one. And so all of those give me an adrenaline rush.
I love how far the metaphor goes. And it's one of those things, Mike, maybe sometime you can teach me to fish, because I one time fly fishing, caught a fish by the tail, and that's like the best I've done. And so, but Liam wants to fish and we talk about doing it together, but I don't feel like I know. There's so many stinking hooks and there's so many things to choose. And it's like, I don't know which of the billion hooks available to me that fish in that pond is going to want today.
Well, if you really want to enjoy fishing, you have to get beyond the temptation to catch something.
Wow.
It's all about being in that place and that time and enjoying everything that's around you. Catching the fish is the bonus. But I've had great days of fishing where we never caught a fish.
That is one of the more profound things I've heard in a long time. I love it. Okay, you're right. Maybe I just
come to Wisconsin and go ice fishing, and you'll quickly learn it's not about catching fish.
Okay.
But a bunch of guys trying to get away from their wives, drink beer, and grill burgers all day.
All that sounds pretty good. By the way, I don't know if we should promote this in case Rhea's watching, but there are places available in Chicago. This is Charlie. For Rhea, we've got an extra room in Naperville. It's a bit of a commute, but she might. So does Deirdre in Oak Park. She can have Capri's room. This is awesome. Look at this. Who is this one?
I appreciate all those invites. I will let her know. She's since I'm stuck at home with COVID for the next 10 days, I don't think I'm going to be much fun. She's already locked me. She's already locked me up in the basement. So
Mike's in the cellar. Mike, great story. This is Larry Wange, my old man. Yo, Pop. Mike, great story on your life and career. Congrats on your retirement.
Thank you.
How cool is that? Quentin, fishing is like golf, a good walk spoiled, just enjoying the time. Exactly. Who's this one? This is Jim Klimt. Oh, Jim from Duke. Hey, Jim. Mike, honored to call you a valued business colleague and a trusted friend.
I've enjoyed a lot of good evenings with Jim. He's an
Gosh.
excellent guy. Everybody on this, every name that you pop up, I'm impressed would take time out of their busy lives to listen to my silly stories.
Well, your silly stories might not be silly to everybody, and you've affected a lot of people profoundly. Um, what's the proudest moment in your professional career?
Wow. Not getting fired every day. Uh, I guess there's one thing that I really feel good about,
Yeah.
and it's called Noki. Noki is the New Orleans Culinary and Hospitality Institute, and it was a project. I can't remember if it started before I was president of NAFM, and it continued on through my presidency and came to a conclusion. Well, it came to fruition after, I think, while I was immediate past president of NAFM. But one of my favorite people and great reps, Jim Landry down in New Orleans, had a conversation with me one day, and he said he had been talking to Dickie Brennan, who owns a bunch of the best restaurants in New Orleans, about the labor issues that they had, and how hard it was to find skilled labor or any labor that they could even train, how expensive it was for them to train kids off the street, especially after Katrina, and more recently after Ida. And he had this vision of collaborating with industry people to buy a building in downtown New Orleans and turn it into a culinary and hospitality school, to develop a program that was affordable, to skill up young kids, get them off the streets, give them a career in a great culinary and hospitality industry down there in southern Louisiana. And we did it. Dickie and his partners bought the building. They had a really smart guy named George. I think George is married to Dickie's sister, if I'm right. But he was a lawyer, and he had connections with the mayor and with the governor and with the convention bureau. And they managed to raise the money to refurbish the building. And we managed to get all the NAFM members to donate the equipment, or a good portion of it. NAFM contributed the money needed to purchase the rest. And we populated 10 training kitchens in that building, with all the equipment that they needed.
Wow.
Working with a local dealer and a local consultant, and a whole bunch of other industry folks. T. Martin at Commander's Palace. Amazing people. And it opened, and we got to go for the grand opening. And I was just there 2 weeks ago, and they're still having classes, and they have enthusiast programs, and they have pop-ups where you can go for dinner. It's an awesome place. It's a beautiful building. If you're ever down there, wow. It's right off of, I guess it used to be Jackson Circle, but they took that statue down because of pressure for a variety of reasons. But it's right in downtown. It's a really cool place.
Cool. Like, wow, what a cool story.
And I can't thank NAFM and the NAFM staff and Deidre and everybody. I was just the figurehead, but a lot of really smart people worked their what's off.
Way to go, NAFM team. Man, you know what? I've only been a part of NAFM since I joined CalMill almost, a little less than 2 years ago. But the amount of giving and service that comes out of NAFM, it just blows me away. How much that community emphasizes service and lifting others up. And kudos to you. Kudos to you. Way to go, Dee and Charlie and the whole NAFM team. Here's another question for you. Tom Lyons is, I think, VP of College University at Cisco. Great guest. How does he differentiate Hatco from peer companies in a very competitive segment?
That's the secret sauce, Tom. Tom used to be my competitor at BSI. So, but the same way everybody competes. You have to pick who you want to be. So we have one mantra that we embrace that says we sell quality food service products to people that value quality products and great customer service. And sometimes I have somebody who says, hey, we're going to lose this book of business because we can't hit the price. And I'm like, who's our customer again? Just let it go. If you're going to be the best in quality and the best in customer service, you can't be the best in price. You got to decide who you want to be, and then be true to it. And I think we are. And we're fun. It doesn't hurt to be fun. People want to do business with people they like. So we try to be likable.
2 winning strategies there. This is our buddy Jason. Be careful with COVID. Trust me, get better soon. I'm sure Mike is going to take care of himself for sure. Thank you for the thoughts. Lee Circle. Does that name mean anything to you?
Yes. General Lee Circle. That's where that's where the Nokia is. It's not Jackson. It was Lee. It was the other general.
Got it. That's Otto. Yo, Otto.
Otto Abad.
Yo, brother.
I just was visiting with Otto when I was down there. He is a wonderful human being.
Oh, fun. I met Otto once, I think, at a conference. Hopefully we'll get to do that again next month. What great visions you are sharing. This is Todd Strader for everyone, regardless of where we are in our careers. Thank you both. Love the collaborations. I love it. Yes, Hatco is fun. That is our buddy Bolt from Avanti. Yo, Bolt. Mike, maybe you answered this. I don't know if you would say it was your knee, but was there, it's easy for people in our industry, particularly some of the younger people, to look at industry leaders, of which you are one of them, and people to whom we look at for wisdom and story and who've been around and know stories. And it's easy to think, to forget challenges that have been overcome along the way. Were there any challenges you experienced or went through that you got through that really taught you what you were made of?
Oh, let me count the ways. Yeah, there was a lot. For a while, I felt really cursed because everywhere I went, the market would get messed up and shut down, and I'd have to go somewhere else. So I started my career in Mexico, and they had a terrible currency crisis. The peso went from like 1,000 to 100,000 overnight, and the business just stopped. And I'm like, well, not selling anything in Mexico. And then I was doing a lot of stuff in Russia, and I forget who they invaded that time, but basically the ruble went through the roof, and everybody boycotted Russia, and I got booted out of there. I spent some time in Turkey, and then they got into a fight with Syria, and it was too dangerous to go there. And I started feeling like I was cursed. And then I found China, and I went to China like 24 years in a row. And I'm like, I love China. China's great. We got a factory in China. I got friends all over. This is awesome. Then we had COVID. So, I think you're always overcoming challenges, and you just got to pick up and move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. On a personal note, I would say the most difficult challenge I've had to deal with, and it's recent, and maybe that's why I'm having such a strong memory of it. But, during COVID, there was a lot of challenges at work, and we had a great team, and we just worked through it. But there were so many smart people in the room, and we would meet every morning and talk about what do we have to do. And we would just collectively, nothing could conquer us. Mm-hmm. But at my church, I was pretty much the lone leader, and we were divided. And it was funny because it was all like the young people that were like, hey, no, we need to go to virtual worship. We can't be infecting everybody. And then we had all these old people who were really the ones at risk, who were like, screw it, I'm a widow, I got nothing to do, and I don't know how to do Zoom, so I want to keep worshiping in person. And I'm like, you're gonna die. And it was really ripping the church apart and trying to keep that all together. And people were threatening not to give money, and I'm never coming back again. And then the pastor got COVID, and it was a nightmare. And I lost a lot of sleepless nights, but I just remained prayerful and diligent and just kept talking to people and explaining why we were doing what we were doing and what the criteria looked like to get past it and what rules we were following and why we were following them. And just, I mean, it felt like I was calling every member of the church every week and trying to explain myself. But we got through it, and we're all together now, and things are much better. But that was an incredible challenge in patience and leadership and commitment, and not knowing what's ahead, but not jumping overboard. It was hard not to. There was a while where I just wanted to walk away from it and say, well, let somebody else deal with this. I've done all I can, but some miracle God stuck with it.
Well, kudos to you for sticking with it. And I think that that's a relatable experience. When things get really hard, it's easy for so many of us to just say, hey, look, I got better things to do. Someone else, I need some sleep. Someone else can handle this. And I think it's really important to know that our leaders who stick with it, and look, it's okay at times if something is no longer healthy for us and we need to step away for whatever reasons, but that even those who stick with it and keep going and lead through it, ask themselves those questions. Do I want to keep doing this? It's not that the question itself means there's anything wrong or that we aren't meant to lead in some capacity. It's a question that we all have and we all figure out and work through together.
Yeah.
Persistence is what Dan Farmer says.
Yeah. Well, I got a dog like that. I'm not sure that's always smart, but
is what?
Persistent.
Oh,
I have a very persistent dog, but sometimes persistence can be really dangerous.
Yeah. I want that toy again. This is Charlie. This is a quote from Bill Murray in the movie Stripes. That means that our forefathers were kicked out of every decent country in the world. We are the wretched refuse. We're the underdog. We're the mutts. Charlie. I love your quotes, man.
There's a ton of truth in all of that.
No kidding, huh? Hatco is definitely fun. That's our friend Zena Dater. Zena, hi.
Awesome.
And this is our buddy Rachel Weaver with SIFA. Hi, Rachel. Mike is one of my heroes in the industry. To me, one of the most globally educated people in our community. How cool is that?
That's a big honor for someone who's got a resume like Rachel. She's done a lot of great things in her career. I deep respect for her.
Heck yeah, Rachel. I love it. Hi, friend. Okay. As you get ready for this next portion of
just so Rachel knows, it'll be 10 days in quarantine before I go to SIFA. So please don't kick me out.
Okay. Yeah. He's going to be clear. He'll be good. We can still share drinks there. It's all good. I know. Good timing, Mike. As you get ready for this next part of your life, and you're getting ready, you're learning theology and all that. Are you a bucket list guy? Is there anything on your list that you're like, I want to knock these things off?
I have one like really wild thing. So yeah, so getting licensed in ministry is one that I can see. I mean, the path to that is pretty clear.
Yeah.
And because most of my travels over the course of my life were overseas, I'd like to get to see the US a little bit more. I've been to the big cities, but more of the small town America. But I've had this wild dream for a long time, and it's starting to look like it's going to be harder to execute, but I haven't given up on it. There's that persistence in me still. Yeah. And I read 2 books by people that have done this. So I know it's possible. And there's a fictional book that was written about this as well. But I would love to do an around the world trip without getting on an airplane. And it can be done. So either shipboard or rail or car or walk or horse or whatever. But I know 2 people that have done it. It took them about 6 months. You can't travel 5 stars. You got to be willing to slum it a little bit. But part of it, I'll have to rethink it, but part of it requires you crossing the USSR. And right now that probably wouldn't be doable. So something would have to change for that to get back on the table. But I just think it'd be so fun. Imagine all the stuff you would see in those rural parts of those countries traveling by rail.
That would be, what an amazing adventure that would be to see, but also see it from that perspective. I think it's such a different perspective when you're on the ground, the land or the water, as opposed to flying over something. in the conversations. Oh, Mike, someone wants you to start. I'm guessing that's Zena. Come to Oklahoma City.
I would love to.
There she goes. Route 66. There she goes.
Perfect.
You can book passage on freighters across the sea. Huh.
That's exactly how my friend did it, because it's too expensive to do it. If you're going to go all the way around, you can't afford, and I can't afford. I mean, there's people that can afford that. I don't have their money, but yeah, it's really cheap to book a cabin on a freight ship, and a lot of them have many rooms available.
Oh, so cool.
And they're actually pretty nice.
Really?
Yeah, it's boring though. You got to find a way to entertain yourself for 3 weeks. But I'm going to get to practice next week.
Now's your time to get ready.
See all these books behind me? I'm a book collector. I got a lot of them.
I love it. You'll have some fun reading to do.
Yeah.
Or researching, like what freight companies to go on, what ships to jump on to get across. Okay, Mike, let's end with this. This is one of my favorite questions. You're someone whom we look at and say that's a person who's experienced success in the industry, but success is a word that's personal to each of us, and it's different, and it means something different to everyone. How would you define success?
Success is a word I really don't like, and I'm not going to define it, because to me, success has a sense of finality to it. Like you know, you're going to have success. Like there's this finish line, or he had success, so he completed something. But to me, life is a journey. It's not a race to the end. And I think as long as I'm contributing to the world around me in a positive way, and I'm adding value to other people's lives, and I have the opportunity to serve and help and contribute, you know, I was very much brought up in a servant mentality, a home that was built around servant mentality. And so, you know, unless there's nobody hungry, poor, needy, or there's no, you know, we've cured cancer, every road is perfect, every tree is pruned, every house is painted, nobody's sick. I mean, until we get to that world, I feel like I need to keep journeying. So having success is something I would describe as, you know, feeling like you're adding value, but saying that, okay, I'm going to retire because I've been successful, I don't want to say that.
I love it. It's a verb. It's something that continues on and involves meaning. Love it. Quentin, love it. Who wants to hurry to the end? Well said. Rachel Weaver. Boom. I love it.
It's the dash, right? You always hear people talk about it's the dash. It's not the first, it's not the day you're born. It's not the day you're dead. It's the dash in between, right?
Yeah. Oh man, I love it. Who's this? Amen. That's Shannon Solomon, our friend at Aurora Public Schools. I love it. Dan Farmer. I'm glad I had my pencil and paper for that one. Yeah, that's one to think about. Mike Colligan. Yo, Mike, perfectly said, in service to others. Tim Christensen. Wow, beautiful. I would agree, friends.
Good. Well, I hope they'll all remember that when I'm in retirement and I come visit them and I'm on a fixed income and they can be of service to me.
It'll come back. It'll come back. Who's this? Awesome, Mike. This is so fun. Oh my gosh. Mike, I'm going to ask you to allow me to do something that you don't actually get a ton of say in, but where I want, on behalf of so many people, to say thanks. And thanks for, who is this? Jim Ottmer. Thanks for everything you've done over the years. Always learned and enjoyed doing so.
Thanks, Jim.
Who's this one? Dan Farmer. I'll have an expense account for you.
Thanks, Dan.
I love it. This is great. I like to end with encouraging words where friends of yours or colleagues or people that have experienced working with you or knowing you along the way, where we get to just say thanks. Not to define that you've been successful in this case, but to say that the way you define it, wanting to contribute and wanting to be of service, you've done, and you've affected lives. And that the legacy we all leave every day, that people will carry that with them. And so a couple friends I connected with, and I'm just going to read you a couple words from some industry friends, if that's okay.
Awesome.
Marty Monet. Mike is a great guy. He is always positive and so fun to be around. But more importantly, Mike epitomizes the concept of servant leadership, putting the needs of others first, not only at Hatco, but through his relationships with customers and his industry service leading NAFM. I was fortunate to have lunch with Mike during my last week, right before my retirement at Trimark in 2019. I look forward to hearing what he's been up to since then and can't wait to connect again soon.
Thanks, Marty.
Our friend Kevin Fink.
Oh, boy.
Mike is a good man. And while I don't see him often enough, he's a good friend. Don't let the dry humor, the endless willingness to share a beverage, or his avid Green Bay Packer fanboy ways fool you. Mike is as thoughtful, intellectually curious, and reflective an individual as I've met. Very smart, very caring, passionate, and giving. He cares deeply for his family, his community, and his friends.
Nice. Thanks, Kevin.
Deirdre Flynn of NAFM. Some people dream, and some people dream into reality. That's what Mike Whiteley has been doing for me. To say Mike dreams big is sort of an understatement, because he is someone whose big dreams, who brings dreams to life. It's not just a talent, it's a gift. He's passionate about all he does for and brings to the industry. He is scary smart, and he challenges you to see beyond the immediate to what something can be with patience, stick-to-itiveness, and determination. I love that new word. It's never a check it off the list with Mike. It's a continual build. He cultivates relationship, and he leads by example. He's a great teacher, a collaborator and partner, and an incredible culture, travel, and cuisine historian and author. We didn't get to that part. Thanks to Mike, NAFM grew in reputation in the industry and in service to its members. I am personally grateful for his coaching, his mentoring, and his friendship.
Deidre always knows how to pick the right words. That was beautiful.
She is a beautiful wordsmith, isn't she? And lastly, I've got your buddy who you referenced earlier, Jim Landry.
Wow.
Thanks to Deirdre for that connection. Mike is a great friend and one of the most well-traveled and most interesting men in the world. What I enjoy most is that Mike listens. We talked about that earlier. He's unassuming in how he listens and how he hears everything that one has to say. He is great engaging with anyone around a table. I love his family and the stories that he shares about his family. He's just so enjoyable to be around. Mike gives a lot of himself, and he is so generous. And I admire how steadfast he is in pursuit of his next career. I know he's been studying and taking classes to be a pastor, and I so admire that about him and his friendship for me.
Awesome.
Mike, look, thanks for giving us an hour. Thanks for sharing your story, a different one that I didn't know most of this, and perhaps many didn't know. I would say from all of us, lots of love and prayers to you, man. I hope you get well and you feel better, and that these next 10 days are, I don't know, you can find some level of life in the cellar.
Well, you just gave me a lot of great encouragement and a lot of good reasons to want to get better soon, get back and see everybody. So, Jason, you got the best job in the industry, doing this every week and hearing everybody's stories and connecting everybody. Your mission is really important. So keep building on it, buddy. I'm so impressed.
Thanks, Mike. It's I feel fortunate to connect with friends and learn so many stories. This is who is this? Get well soon, Mike. This is Danny Monet. Get well soon, Mike. One of the good guys in the business. Hatco School was one of my earliest and best memories in the industry.
Now he's one of the few students that remembered it.
Way to go, Danny. Danny must have gone to bed like one drink earlier than everybody else. Service to humanity is the best work in life. I love it, David. Thank you for being an incredible human. That is Shannon Solomon. Oh my gosh. Thank you, keeping the light on all of us. Keep doing what you're doing. We'll keep going. Thank you, Dan. You got it. There's a lot of great stuff. Thanks for the conversation. Love it. See you in Palm Springs, our friend Rachel.
Can't wait.
Love it. Can't wait. Great camera, Deirdre, all this kind of stuff. Listen, for anyone watching, thanks for joining Mike and I tonight. I mean, how many, I hope you had your pen and paper. So many great nuggets of insight and wisdom and story answers that were new answers that no one's ever given. I love, I'm not going to answer the success word. That's not Mike's favorite word. And I love every reason why that's not his favorite word. And it gives us all a reason to wake up every day and think it's not an end. Every day we create meaning. Every day there's an opportunity to serve. Every day there's an opportunity to grow. And all of that is, and if we're doing all of those things in some capacity, then I think it's easy to say there's success we're experiencing along the way.
Perfect.
Listen, if you're in a place in life, remember, Mike experienced a lot of different things he went through. You're in a position in life or in the industry where it feels particularly hard or challenge, or there's something going through where it feels tough to see the light at the end of the tunnel you're in. Your job is to keep going. That Mike has been there, that I have been there, that so many of our industry leaders have experienced that what the heck do I do next moment, or why is this happening moment? Whether it was Mike leading his church through COVID or working with his team through COVID, there's things that are hard at times. That's just the reality of the world we live in, and you've got what it takes to make it through. So keep moving. If you need a voice or if you need an ear to listen, you're welcome to reach out to me. So many in our community. That's why we do this, because we're an industry that is doing this journey together. Or reach out to trusted friends or family that you know and share. And remember, we all have stuff. So it's totally great and wonderful and to go get help along the way, whether you've got a coach you're working with or whether there's a therapist or someone that you need to help just sort of unpack some of your past or what you're going through. There is no shame in that. It's a huge part of my journey in continuing on in health and in life. So let's give you the freedom to do that. And listen, keep doing it. Keep serving. This is what we do. As a food service industry and hospitality industry, our superpower is service and caring for others. Keep going. And remember to take time to care for you. Listen, thank you again, Mike. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, everybody.